The first time I heard someone call me temporary, it was like getting punched in the chest while I was still smiling. What made it worse was that it came from my own friends. My name is Ryan Cole. I am 28 years old. I live in Chicago. And according to the guys I have known since high school, I am good for a laugh, good for a drink, and good for a short fling. Just not the kind of man anyone keeps. If you asked them, they would say it like a joke. But jokes are only funny when they are not true. That night started like any other Friday. We were at a bar in River North that my friend Mason loved. Loud music, neon lights, people packed shoulder to shoulder. Too many colognes mixing in the air. The kind of place where everyone is trying to look like they are having the best night of their life. I was leaning on the high table with a beer in my hand, pretending to listen to Mason talk about some sales target he crushed at work. In reality, I was just tired. I do graphic design for a marketing agency downtown, and after a full week of deadlines and revisions, I would have preferred a quiet night at home with takeout and a movie. Then I saw her. She walked in with my friend's girlfriend, Jenna. The door opened, cold air rushed in, and there she was under the yellow light. Simple black jeans, white sweater, brown leather jacket. Her dark hair fell around her shoulders in loose waves. No heavy makeup, no dramatic outfit. Just simple and beautiful in a way that made the whole room feel different. I felt myself straighten without meaning to. "Who is that?" I asked, nodding toward the door. Mason followed my gaze and grinned. "Oh, that is Lily," he said. "She works with Jenna at the hospital. She just moved here from Denver. First time out with our group." Lily. The name suited her. Soft but bright. Jenna waved and pulled her through the crowd toward us. Lily smiled politely at everyone, saying hello, and then her eyes landed on me. For a second, everything around us faded. "Lily, this is Ryan," Jenna said, almost shouting over the music. "He is one of Mason's best friends." I held out my hand. "Hey," I said, trying to sound casual. "Welcome to Chicago nightlife. It is loud, overpriced, and Mason will insist it is fun." She laughed. And it was the kind of laugh that made you want to say something funny again, just to hear it one more time. "I am already overwhelmed," she said, "but in a good way, kind of." We shook hands. Her grip was warm, steady, confident. She smelled faintly like vanilla and something I could not name. "You just moved here?" I asked. "Yeah," she said. 2 months ago. I am a nurse at St. Mary's. Still getting used to the city." "That explains why Jenna adopted you," I said. "She collects new people like they are plants." Lily smiled. "She said you guys were good people and that I needed a social life that did not involve hospital scrubs and vending machine dinners." Jenna clapped her hands. "Okay, I am getting a drink," she said. "You two talk. Ryan, be nice." She winked at me and disappeared into the crowd with Mason. It was the first time in months I actually wanted to stay in a bar. We started talking. It was easy in a way that surprised me. I asked about Denver. She asked about Chicago. She told me about her crazy overnight shifts and the patients who made her laugh even when she was exhausted. I told her about clients who wanted everything simple and minimal, but also wanted 10 different colors and 3 logos in the same design. She listened with real interest. Not polite nodding, real interest. For a while it felt like we were in our own bubble. People bumped past us. Music kept pounding. But I could have stood there talking to her for hours. At some point, Jenna came back with a round of shots. Everyone crowded around the table. Lily and I got separated by a few people when everyone shuffled to make room. "I will be right back," she said with a small smile, and moved toward Jenna. I watched her go, still feeling the echo of our conversation in my chest. It felt stupid how quickly I liked her, but I did. It had been a long time since I met someone who made me forget to check my phone for no reason. That is when I heard it. I was reaching for my drink when Mason leaned toward Lily and Jenna. The music dipped for a moment between songs, and his voice cut through just enough. "Ryan is fun," he said, "but just so you know, he is temporary. Do not get attached." He laughed like he was saying something harmless. Jenna smacked his arm, half joking, half serious. "Mason," she said, "come on." Lily tilted her head. Temporary? She repeated. My stomach dropped. I froze, my hand still hovering near my glass. I should have looked away. I should have pretended I did not hear it. Instead, I stayed rooted to the spot, listening to my own friends define me in one word. Yeah, Mason said. He is a good guy, do not get me wrong. But he is not exactly a long-term type. He never sticks around. So if you want a fun night, sure. But if you are looking for a real relationship, maybe do not put all your eggs there. Jenna rolled her eyes, but she did not exactly disagree. She just said, "You are an idiot," and took her shot. Lily did not laugh. She did not look offended. She just went quiet for a second. Then the music swelled again, and someone pulled Mason away. The moment dissolved into the noise of the bar. But inside my chest, it did not dissolve at all. Temporary. I stepped back from the group, my throat tight. I knew what they meant. After my last serious relationship ended 2 years ago, I had decided I was done with long-term. I told myself I was better off staying casual. No promises. No expectations. No real chance of being hurt like that again. But there is a big difference between choosing not to commit and being labeled as someone no one should count on. Knowing your friends think you are temporary makes you question everything you thought about yourself. I moved toward the edge of the bar where it was a little quieter. Took a long sip of my drink to steady myself. My heart hammered in my ears. I should have left. That would have been easy. Slip out, send a group text saying, "Hey, something came up," and disappear into the cool Chicago night. Go back to my quiet apartment and pretend none of this happened. But then I heard her voice. "Can I stand here with you?" Quote. I turned and saw Lily next to me, holding her drink, her eyes searching my face. "You disappeared," she said. "Thought maybe you Irish exited." I considered it, I admitted. She smiled a little, but there was something careful in her eyes now, like she was looking at me differently. "You okay?" she asked. "Yeah," I said. Just needed a break from the noise. We stood side by side, watching people dance, sipping our drinks. I wanted to ask her what she thought of what Mason said. I wanted to explain myself, to defend myself, to say I was not always this way, that once I was the guy who stayed, who planned futures, who believed in forever. I did not say any of that. Instead, I asked, "You having a good time?" She looked up at me. "I was," she said honestly. Then I heard something I did not expect. My chest tightened. "About me," I said. She nodded, holding my gaze. For a moment, we just stood there. No music, no crowd, just a heavy question hanging between us. I took a breath. "Look," I said. "My friends like to talk. And yeah, I have not exactly been the committed type lately. But I do not think of people as temporary. I am not trying to hurt anyone. I'm just trying not to get hurt again." She listened, really listened. Her eyes were soft, not judging. She took a step closer so she did not have to raise her voice. "Thank you for saying that," she said quietly. "I appreciate honesty." We stayed there by the wall for the next hour, talking about everything and nothing again. Work, family, the weird neighbor in my building who yelled at the mailman, the old nurse on her floor who told wild stories about the 80s. Time blurred. At some point, Mason waved at me from across the bar, cupped his hands around his mouth, and shouted something I could not hear. I just lifted my hand and nodded without caring what he wanted. By the time we stepped out of the bar, the night air felt like a shock. It was colder than I expected. The city was quieter, the loud music replaced by distant traffic and the hum of streetlights. Jenna and Mason were arguing about pizza versus tacos. Someone else was trying to order a rideshare. People were laughing, stumbling, saying they were starving. Lily stood beside me on the sidewalk, hugging her jacket tighter around herself. "You cold?" I asked. "A little," she said, smiling. "But I am okay." Mason walked over and clapped a heavy hand on my shoulder. "See, I told you," he said, grinning at Lily. "You survived an hour with this guy. Impressive." Lily looked at him, then at me. Her eyes lingered on mine for a second longer than before. "Actually," she said softly, "we survived more than that." Mason laughed and turned away, distracted by someone calling his name. The group started to drift toward the corner, heading for late-night food. For a second, I thought Lily would go with them. Instead, she stepped closer to me, so close I could feel her shoulder brushing my arm. I looked down at her, confused. "You should go with them," I said. "You are new here. It is good to stick with the group." She shook her head, her voice dropping to almost a whisper. "My friends told me you were temporary," she said. "They warned me not to get attached." I swallowed hard, every muscle in my body tensing. "Yeah," I said quietly. "I heard." She looked into my eyes, steady and clear, and leaned in so only I could hear her next words. "I do not care what they said, Ryan," she whispered. "I want you to stay." My heart stuttered. In that moment, with the cold night around us and the noise of the city fading into the background, I realized this was not going to be another easy, casual story I could walk away from. This was something else. Something that might finally force me to decide if I was really as temporary as everyone believed. When she whispered those words, everything around us felt like it shifted an inch to the left. I want you to stay. Not stay at the bar, not stay for one more drink. Stay. In her life. In this moment. In whatever was starting between us. For a second, I forgot how to talk. "You sure?" I finally managed. She nodded, small but certain. "Walk me home?" she asked. The others were already yelling about late-night tacos. Jenna shouted something in our direction, waving her hand. "We are heading to Rico's," she called. "You guys coming?" Lily looked at me first. I liked that. "I think I am going to head home," she called back. "Long shift tomorrow." Jenna put a hand to her heart in fake drama. "Being a responsible adult," she said. "Fine. Love you. Text me when you get home." They turned the corner in a loud group. Then it was just us on the sidewalk under a flickering streetlight. "Which way?" I asked. She pointed down a side street. "It is only a few blocks," she said. "I usually walk when it is not too late." We fell into step together. The city felt different away from the bar. Quieter. More real. The cold air bit at my cheeks, but I barely noticed. "What made you say that?" I asked after a minute. "Say what?" She said, even though we both knew. "That you want me to stay," I said. "You do not know me that well yet." She looked ahead at the crosswalk, waiting for the light. "You did not pretend," she said simply. "When you heard what Mason said, you did not act like everything was fine. You stepped away, then you told me the truth. Most guys I have known would have brushed it off and tried to make a joke." The light turned and we crossed. "I do not like lies that come in a friendly voice," she went on. "I had enough of that with my ex." "What happened?" I asked. She took a breath, her white cloud of breath drifting in front of us. "We were together for 3 years," she said. "I thought he was it. We had plans to move in together, to get a dog, all the regular stuff." Her voice went a little flat. "Then my mom got sick," she said. "Cancer. It got bad fast. I moved back home to help with her treatments. Suddenly our dates were phone calls in hospital parking lots." "Did he not handle it well?" I asked. She gave a small, humorless laugh. "He said all the right things," she said. "I am here for you. Take all the time you need. You are my girl." But every week he called less and less. I would text after a 12-hour shift and get a reply the next day. I kept telling myself he was just busy. I already knew how this ended, but my chest still hurt listening. "One night," she said, "I checked social media and saw pictures of him at a party. New girl sitting on his lap. His friend had tagged him." She swallowed. "He had not called me in 5 days," she said, "but he had time for that." "I am sorry," I said quietly. She shrugged, but I could tell it still stung. "People tell you who they are when things get hard," she said. "He was there for the good times, not so much for the bad ones." We walked in silence for a moment. Streetlights buzzed overhead. A car rolled past slowly. "What about you?" she asked. "Who turned you into the temporary guy?" I almost said no one. Almost laughed it off. But if I wanted her to trust me, I had to give her the real version. Her name was Kelsey, I said. We met in college, dated for 4 years. Lived together for 2. I thought I was going to marry her. What happened? Lily asked. We stopped at another corner. I watched the red hand on the crosswalk sign. She used to say I was steady, I said, that I made her feel grounded. Then one day that word changed. Steady became boring. Safe became suffocating. She said she needed someone more exciting. The memory still tasted bitter. She left? Lily asked. Yeah, I said, for a musician. He lived out of a van for a while, could never hold a job. But he made her feel alive, she said. And you? She asked. I felt like someone had taken a highlighter and gone over every flaw I had. I said, too normal, too predictable, not enough. After that, I told myself I was done going all in. Short term only, no promises to break. The light changed and we crossed again. So you are not actually temporary, Lily said. You just retired early. That made me laugh in spite of myself. Something like that, I said. She bumped her shoulder lightly against mine. For what it is worth, she said, I like steady. I like safe. I just do not like fake. We turned onto a smaller street lined with old brick buildings. She pointed to a 3-story walk-up with a green door. That one, she said. We walked up the front steps together. She stopped outside the door and turned to face me. Thank you for walking me home, she said, and for the honesty. Thank you for not listening to Mason, I said. She smiled, then glanced at the door, then back at me like she was making a fast decision. Want to come up for tea? She asked. I promise I am not saying that as code for anything. I just do not feel like ending the night with my own thoughts yet. Normally that kind of invite would have come with a whole script in my head. How far is this going? What does she expect? How do I not mess this up? This time it felt simple. Yeah, I said, I would like that. Her apartment was small but warm. Soft yellow light, plants on shelves, a stack of books by the couch, a pair of worn sneakers by the door. It felt lived in, real, no fake showroom vibe. Make yourself at home, she said, heading to the kitchen. Chamomile, okay? Sure, I said. I will drink anything that is not from the bar. She laughed from the other room. I looked around while she made tea. There were framed photos on a side table. Lily hugging an older woman who had the same eyes. Lily in a mountain setting with snow behind her. Lily and Jenna at what looked like a Halloween party. My eyes stopped on one photo of her in scrubs, holding the hand of an elderly man in a hospital bed. She was smiling at him, not at the camera. The look on her face made my chest go tight in a different way. You found the evidence, she said, walking back with 2 mugs. Been a nurse for 5 years. That was one of my first patients who loved the attention a little too much. She handed me a mug and sat on the couch. I sat at the other end, trying not to spill. You look happy in that picture, I said. I was, she said. Even on the worst days, there is always one moment that reminds me why I do it. We sipped tea and talked more, about stupid shows we loved, about the best places to get breakfast in the city, about siblings and childhood injuries and the worst haircuts we had ever had. At some point, her bare feet ended up on the cushion between us. I took that as a good sign. Around 2 in the morning, she glanced at the clock and winced. You should probably go, she said, but she did not sound like she wanted me to. Probably, I said. Big day of pretending to work tomorrow. She smiled. We both stood by the door. For a second, we just looked at each other. The air felt charged, but not heavy. I know what your friend said, she said quietly, but I am not going into this expecting you to fail some test. Then what are you expecting? I asked. She thought for a second. I expect you to show up as you, she said, not as the version they have decided you are. I swallowed past the lump in my throat. I can do that, I said. And for the record, I do not think of you as someone who needs saving. You are not some sad story I am here to fix. Her shoulders relaxed a little. Thank you, she said. I wanted to kiss her. My whole body was aware of how close she was. The curve of her mouth, the way her eyes kept dropping to my lips and then back up. But I also remembered what she had told me. about promises and broken trust, about people who said the right things but did not stay when it mattered. So instead, I took her hand and brought it to my lips. Just a small kiss on the back of her fingers. Old-fashioned. Simple. Her cheeks flushed. "Good night, Lily," I said. "Good night, Ryan," she said softly. On the train ride home, my phone buzzed. A group chat message lit up the screen. "Mason, so how temporary were you tonight?" I stared at the words, my jaw clenching. The old me would have sent a joke back. Something easy. Something that kept me in the role they had written for me. Instead, I typed, "Ryan, you were out of line tonight. Do not talk about me like that again." Or about anyone like that. 3 dots appeared, disappeared. Then, nothing. I put my phone in my pocket and leaned my head back against the seat. Somewhere between the bar and Lily's front door, I had made a quiet decision. If I wanted someone to believe I was not temporary, I had to stop acting like I was. Over the next few weeks, my life slowly rearranged itself around a woman with a green jacket and a tired smile who worked night shifts and liked mint tea. We did not have some big conversation about what we are at first. It was smaller than that. Softer. It was good morning texts from me when I knew she was finishing a brutal overnight. It was her sending me a picture of a ridiculous hospital vending machine snack at 3 a.m. with the caption, "Fine dining." It was me walking her home when she got off late and the trains were too sketchy. It was her showing up at my place with takeout when I messaged, "Client wants to see a brand board in 2 hours, send help." Our first real date was not fireworks. It was grocery store lighting and slightly burned grilled cheese. "Let me cook for you," I had said. "Are you actually capable?" she asked, raising an eyebrow. I sent her a picture of my pan and the ingredients lined up neatly. "Please clap for my effort," I texted. She replied, "I will reserve applause until I see if you poison me." We ended up in my little apartment on a Wednesday night. I made tomato soup from scratch because the internet said it was simple, which was a lie, but it somehow turned out okay. She grated cheese like a professional and teased me for reading the recipe 3 times. "This is domestic," she said, watching me flip the sandwiches. "Should I be worried I am about to accidentally move in?" "Not until at least the 3rd grilled cheese," I said. "I have standards." We ate on my couch, legs tucked under us, movie playing quietly in the background. It felt like we had skipped several awkward stages and landed directly in something comfortable. "You know," she said between bites, "for a temporary guy, you are good at showing up." "Trying to rebrand," I said. She smiled, but I could see something flicker behind her eyes, a thought she had not said yet. "What?" I asked. She shook her head. "Nothing," she said. "Just, it has been a long time since someone's presence made things feel easier, not more complicated." A small knot formed in my chest. I wanted to be that for her. I also knew I was still fighting the part of myself that liked exits. Later that night, when she fell asleep with her head on my shoulder halfway through the movie, I muted the TV and just looked at her. At the faint shadows under her eyes, from too many shifts, at the way her hand stayed curled lightly against my chest, like she had given her body permission to rest for once. In that moment, I did not feel trapped. I felt trusted. I did not sleep much after she went home, not because I was restless in a bad way, but because the realization scared me. I was already in deeper than I meant to be. The first crack in our easy rhythm showed up on a Sunday. We had plans to meet at a coffee shop near the park around 11. She had the day off. I had promised to take her to my favorite spot by the lake, the one where you could see the skyline and forget about everything else. At 9, I was at my desk trying to fix a design draft when my phone buzzed. It was my boss. "Can you hop on a call with the client in an hour?" she asked when I picked up. "They want to pivot again." I looked at the time, then at the unfinished work on my screen, then at the text I had sent Lily the night before. 11 a.m., coffee and Lakeview. I am buying the good muffins. "Yeah," I heard myself say to my boss. "I can do that." The call did not last an hour. It lasted 2. By the time it ended, my brain was fried and my stomach was twisted with guilt. I grabbed my phone and saw 3 messages from Lily. 10:45. Leaving soon, just need to find my other shoe. Why do they always run off alone? 11:15. Here, early. No rush. I am people watching. 11:40. Hey, everything okay? My chest felt heavy. I called her right away. It went to voicemail. She was probably still at the coffee shop. I threw on my jacket and practically ran there. The cold air burned my lungs, but I did not stop. When I pushed open the door, my eyes went straight to the table by the window where I imagined her waiting. It was empty. Panic rose in my throat until I spotted her in the far corner. She was sitting with her hands around a mug, staring at the table. Her shoulders looked tired in a way I had not seen before. I walked over, breathless and guilty. "Lily," I said, "I am so sorry. My client cornered me and—" "It is okay," she said quickly, cutting me off with a small smile that did not reach her eyes. "Work happens. I get it." "I should have texted," I said. "I was stupid. I just got caught up and—" "Ryan," she said, more firmly this time, "sit down. It is fine." I sat, but it did not feel fine. "How long have you been here?" I asked. She glanced at her phone. "About an hour," she said casually, taking a sip of now cold coffee. "It is okay. I am used to waiting." Those 4 words hit me harder than any lecture could have. I am used to waiting. Waiting for test results. Waiting for doctors. Waiting for people to call. Waiting for someone to choose her. Waiting for someone not to. I reached across the table and touched her hand. "You should not have to be used to that," I said quietly, "especially not from me." She looked at our hands. For a second I thought she would pull away. Instead, she turned her palm so our fingers could link. "I am not mad," she said, disappointed for a minute maybe, but mostly scared. "Scared?" I repeated. "Yeah," she said. "Scared this is where that reputation kicks in. That I start trusting you, and then one day I am sitting somewhere much more important than a coffee shop, and you do not show up." Quote. The words sat heavy between us. I could feel my own fear reacting, wanting to defend, to say I am not that guy and move on. But that would not fix anything. "You have every right to be scared," I said. "And I also have to be honest. Part of me is still scared of being the guy who shows up and gets left anyway." She looked up, eyes soft but clear. "So what do we do?" she asked. I thought about it for a second. "We can either let those fears make decisions for us," I said slowly, "or we can admit they are there and still choose to try." Her mouth twitched, like she wanted to believe that. "Does try include texting when you are running late?" she asked. I laughed, some of the tension easing off my shoulders. "Yes," I said. Step 1 of emotional maturity: send a text. She squeezed my hand, and the knot in my chest loosened a little. "Okay," she said. "Then, let's keep trying." Our day was not ruined. We walked to the lake, ate muffins that were a little too sweet, and talked about everything except what had almost gone wrong. But I carried her words with me afterward. I am used to waiting. I started paying attention to small things after that, to whether my actions matched what I kept saying I wanted to be. If I told her I would call after her shift, I called. If I said I could meet for lunch, I showed up, or I gave her a heads up if something changed. It was not about being perfect. It was about proving, piece by piece, that I was not a temporary patch on the side of her life. Some weeks were good. Some were messy. Then, one night, everything came crashing a little too close to the edge. It was a Thursday. I was finishing a project I had been working on for weeks. The kind of big campaign that could mean a promotion if it went well. My phone buzzed while I was adjusting color swatches. Lily: "Hey, weird question. Are you busy tonight?" Ryan: "A little. Client presentation tomorrow. Why? What's up?" The 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Lily: "It is nothing. Never mind. Good luck tomorrow, smiley face." If this had been a month earlier, I might have taken that at face value and gone back to work. But there was something about the way she wrote it. The smiley face felt stuck on. I called her. She answered on the second ring. "Hey!" she said. Her voice sounded thick. You should be working." "I am," I said, multitasking. "What is wrong?" "Nothing is wrong," she said automatically. "Lily," I said, keeping my voice gentle, "what is wrong?" There was a pause. "I got a call from Denver," she said finally, "from my dad." My stomach tightened. "Is your mom okay?" I asked. "She is stable," Lily said, "but the cancer is back. They caught it early, which is good, but it means more treatments, more time, more everything." There was a small sound then, like she was trying not to cry. "I am sorry," I said quietly. "I am so sorry." "I did not want to bother you," she said, her words coming fast now. "I know how important tomorrow is for you. I thought I was ready for this. I thought since we did this once before I would know how to handle it. But I suddenly feel like I am right back in that hospital parking lot again, waiting for someone to answer their phone." Quote, "The old version of me, the one who stayed on the surface, would have said, 'You have got this,' offered a few comforting words, and then gone back to his laptop. Not because he did not care, but because he was terrified of being pulled into someone else's storm again." The man sitting at his desk in that moment closed his laptop. "Where are you right now?" I asked. "Home," she said. "Why?" "I am coming over," I said, already getting up and grabbing my jacket. "Ryan, no," she said. "You have that huge meeting. You do not need to." "I want to," I said. "Text me if you need anything on the way. Snacks, chocolate, a new identity. I can probably manage 2 out of 3. She let out a small, broken laugh. "Just you," she said softly, "if that's okay." 20 minutes later, I was on her couch. She was curled against my side, her head on my chest, damp hair pressed to my shirt from the tears she had tried to hide. A box of tissues sat on the coffee table next to 2 untouched mugs of tea. We did not talk much. She told me what the doctor said. I listened. When she needed silence, I stayed quiet. When she needed to lean her full weight on me, I let her. My arm went numb after a while, but I did not dare move. At some point, she pulled back and looked at me through red-rimmed eyes. "You are going to be exhausted tomorrow," she said. "You do not have to stay." I looked at her like she was speaking a different language. "I know," I said. "That is why I am staying." She blinked. "Why?" she asked. It was not a challenge. It was a genuine, fragile question. "Because I do not want you to ever feel like you are in that parking lot alone again," I said. "Not if I can help it." Her lower lip trembled. She took a breath. "People say that," she whispered. "They say they will be there, that they will stay, and then—" "I am not people," I said gently. "I am me. I cannot promise I will never mess up or say the wrong thing. But I can promise that when things get hard, I am not going to check out, because it is uncomfortable." We looked at each other for a long moment. I could see the battle in her eyes. The part of her that wanted to believe me. The part that remembered what it felt like when belief was a mistake. She leaned forward, resting her forehead against mine. "I am scared," she said. "Me too," I admitted. "Of what?" she asked. "Of getting attached to you and actually having something to lose again." I said honestly. She gave a tiny smile. "At least we are scared together," she said. The next morning, I walked into my client presentation on 3 hours of sleep. My boss pulled me aside before the meeting. "You look like hell," she said. "Thank you," I replied. "I was going for mysterious artist, but I'll take hell too." "Did you finish the deck?" she asked. "Yes," I said. "It is in your inbox and on the drive, and on this USB, and probably etched into my brain forever." She studied me for a second. "You good?" she asked. I thought of Lily, wrapped in a blanket on her couch, finally sleeping because she knew someone was sitting right there. "Yeah," I said. "I think I am." The meeting went well. Better than well. The client loved the campaign. My boss squeezed my shoulder afterward and said, "You killed it," in that rare, warm way she had. Later, alone at my desk, I checked my phone. "Lily, how did it go?" Quote, "Ryan, we crushed it. They loved it. I am now a legend in exactly one conference room. Lily. Told you. Also, thank you for last night. I know you had every excuse to be temporary. You chose not to be. I stared at that message longer than I needed to. A week later, my friends decided to have a game night. No bars, no crowds, just pizza, cards, and fake competitiveness in Mason and Jenna's apartment. Bring Lily, Jenna texted. We like her. Not sure about you, but her, yes. When we arrived, Lily squeezed my hand at the door. Ready? She asked. For what? I asked. For the part where your friends decide whether I am worthy, she said, half joking, half not. I winced. You know they do not get to decide anything about us, right? I said. Rationally, yes, she said. Emotionally, my brain is still an overachieving worrier. Inside, the living room was already loud. Mason was shuffling cards like a Vegas dealer. Two other friends, Chris and Danny, were fighting about what topping should go on pizza. Jenna rushed over and hugged Lily. You came, she said. Thank God. Now I am not the only sane one in this room. The night started easy. We played cards, yelled about rules, accused each other of cheating. Lily held her own. She called Mason out on his nonsense, laughed at Chris's bad jokes, and helped Jenna hide the pineapple pizza from Donnie. At one point, while we were waiting for the next round to start, I went to the kitchen to grab more drinks. I heard voices from the hallway and paused. She seems cool, Chris was saying quietly. Yeah, Mason replied. She is. Then, after a short pause, I just hope he does not do what he does. My jaw tightened. I stepped closer, unseen. What does that mean? Jenna's voice floated in, sharper now. You know, Mason said. Ryan gets all in for 3 months. Then he freaks out and disappears. I do not want to watch that happen to her. She has been through stuff, Jan. I am aware of what she has been through, Jenna said. I brought her into this group, remember? There was a rustling sound, like someone shifting their weight. People change, Jenna went on. He has been different with her. People say that until they prove they are not, Mason said. I had heard enough. I walked into the hallway, letting them see me. Glad to know my character is tonight's side topic, I said lightly, though my tone betrayed something sharper. Mason jumped a little. Dude, he said, we were just talking about me like I am not in the next room, I said. Yeah, I caught that. Jenna looked guilty. Ryan, it is not like that, she said. He is just worried. I get it, I said. You guys have known me a long time. You have seen me mess things up. But maybe consider not deciding the ending of this story before I even get a chance to write it. Mason ran a hand through his hair. I am just trying to protect her, he said. Protect her from what? A quiet voice said behind us. Lily. She had come to find me. She heard everything. Everyone froze. Lily, Jenna said. We were just talking about protecting me from Ryan, she said calmly. I heard? She stepped into the small space, looking from Mason to me and back again. Her face was calm, but her eyes were steady in a way that made even Mason look away for a second. I appreciate you caring about me, she said to him. Truly, but you do not get to decide who is safe for me. That is my job. Mason opened his mouth, then closed it. People can change, she continued, or they can stay the same. That is their choice. But you do not get to keep calling someone temporary and expect them to magically become permanent. Labels are heavy. If you keep putting them on someone, eventually they start believing you are right. Her words landed in the air like a small, controlled explosion. I looked at her, floored. Not just because she was defending me, but because she understood something I had not even been able to say out loud. She turned to me then, her expression softening. And you, she said, you also do not get to use their version of you as an excuse to run when things get hard. Quote, it stung, because it was true. We are all scared, Ryan, she said, her voice lower now, of being left, of being not enough, of being too much. I am terrified every day. I like you a little more, but I am still choosing to be here, to try. The room had gone quiet. Even the TV in the background seemed to fade. She stepped closer to me, so near I could see the small freckle near her left eye. "Do you want to try?" she asked softly. "Actually try. Not just until it is hard, but through it being hard." I felt everyone watching us, but it did not matter anymore. This was not about them. "Yes," I said. My voice did not wobble this time. "I do." I did not say I was ready. I did not say I knew how. I just said yes. She searched my face for a second, then gave a small nod. "Okay," she said, "then let them think whatever they want. We will show them who we are by how we stay." She reached for my hand and laced our fingers together. In the corner of my eye, I saw Jenna smile a little. Chris looked relieved. Even Mason's shoulders relaxed a fraction. He let out a breath. "Look," he said, scratching the back of his neck. "I am sorry, man. Old habits. I will shut up and let you prove me wrong." "It is not about proving you wrong," I said. "It is about proving myself wrong." Lily squeezed my hand again, like she agreed. Game night went on. It was lighter after that. Jokes felt easier. We argued about rules again. At one point, Lily leaned over and whispered, "I am still mad you forgot the muffins last week, and I knew we were going to be okay." That night, walking her home, the city quieter around us, I felt a strange calm I had not felt in years. Not because everything was solved. Her mom was still sick. My fears were still there. My friends still needed time to adjust. But for the first time, I was not standing alone on one side of my life, looking at everyone else on the other. I was walking beside someone who knew my worst patterns and was still here, asking me to choose differently. We reached her building and stopped at the door. The light above the entrance buzzed and flickered. "Thank you for not backing down in there," I said. "I know that was awkward." She shrugged. "It felt important," she said. "Not just for you, for me too. I need to hear myself say out loud that I am choosing this. Choosing you." "Even though I forget muffins sometimes," I said. "Do not push it," she said, but she was smiling. She stepped closer, her hand sliding up into my jacket, resting against my chest. I could feel her warmth through the fabric. "Ryan," she said softly. "Yeah?" I asked. "You are allowed to rewrite your story," she said, "even if the people in your past remember the old draft." I swallowed. "Stay," I blurted without thinking. She blinked. "Here?" she asked. "At the door?" "In my life," I said. "In this, whatever this is." Her eyes shone in the dim light. "You do not get to ask that once," she said. "You have to keep asking it. With your actions, with how you show up, with how you stay when everything in you wants to run." "I know," I said. "And I am trying." She studied me for a moment, then leaned in so close that her lips brushed my ear. "Good," she whispered, "because whether they believe it or not, I am not looking for temporary." She pulled back just enough to look into my eyes. "I want you to stay," she said. This time, it did not sound like a request thrown out into the air. It sounded like a promise we were both agreeing to test, one day at a time. The night she told me she was going back to Denver, my first instinct was to panic. We were on my couch, half watching some baking show where everyone kept crying over cake. Her legs were stretched across my lap. My hand was resting on her ankle, tracing slow circles over the bone. During a commercial, she muted the TV and sat up. "I booked a flight," she said. My hand stilled. "When?" I asked. "Next week," she said. "My mom starts treatment again, and my dad asked if I could come help for a while. They really need me this time." I nodded slowly, even though my heart felt like it had dropped a little. "How long is a while?" I asked. She picked at a loose thread on the blanket. "They are saying 8 to 10 weeks, she said. "Maybe more if there are complications." I swallowed. "Okay," I said. "We can handle that." She looked up, searching my face. "Can we?" she asked quietly. "Be honest." I thought about my old patterns, the way I used to check out when distance or difficulty showed up. The version of me who would have said, "Whatever happens, happens," so he had an easy out. Then I thought about her in some hospital hallway far from here, sitting in a plastic chair at 3 in the morning, staring at vending machines and needing someone who was not afraid of hard things. "That depends," I said. "Do you still want me to stay even when I am not physically there?" She let out a shaky laugh. "This is the part where you are supposed to say no," she said. "Make it easy. Tell me we had fun, then wish me luck." I shook my head. "That is what the temporary version of me would say," I said. "I am not trying to be him anymore." She was quiet for a long moment. "I am scared," she said finally. "I know that has been my line from the beginning, but it is still true. Long distance is hard. Sick parents are harder. I do not want to resent you if you cannot handle it. I do not want you to feel trapped if it is too much." I reached for her hand and pressed it to my chest. "Feel this?" I asked. She nodded. "It is beating because of what we already went through," I said. "You handed me your worst days and I did not run. You saw mine and you stayed. I do not promise it will be easy. I do promise I will keep choosing you, even on the days I am tired or scared or bad at saying the right thing." Her eyes filled with tears, but she did not look away. "Okay," she whispered. "Then I will keep choosing you too." The week before she left was strange. Everything felt normal and heavy at the same time. We still had stupid arguments about pizza toppings. We still watched bad shows and made fun of the commercials. We also sat on the floor of her apartment and made lists. Flight details, medication schedules for her mom, things she needed to pack, things I could help with from here. She showed me the old house on video chat the night she arrived. The worn couch, the kitchen where she grew up, her room that still had a poster from when she was 16. "It feels weird," she said, spinning slowly so I could see. "Like I am visiting a version of myself I left behind." "How is your mom?" I asked. "Braver than anyone I know," she said. "Tired. But still trying to talk like this is all temporary." I saw the flash of pain in her eyes when she said the word. "Not everything temporary is bad," I said gently. "Some things are meant to be short, like bad shifts, or this part. This is a season, not the whole story." She smiled a little. "Look at you," she said, sounding like someone who has read at least 3 self-help books. 2.5, I said. "The last one was boring." She laughed. It sounded thinner through the phone, but it was still real. We started building a new rhythm. Morning texts became morning and night. Video calls after her mom's appointments when she needed to talk. Stupid memes in between when the weight got too heavy. Some nights she was too tired to talk. She would call, set the phone on her pillow, and just listen to me describe my day while she drifted in and out of sleep. "You can hang up," I would whisper. "Stay," she would murmur. "Just talk. I feel safe when I hear your voice." Other nights I was the one who needed her, when a project at work went badly. When I fought with Mason after he made some thoughtless joke about how long I was really going to wait. "You know you do not have to prove anything to us," he had said. "I am not," I told him. "I am proving it to myself." Lily listened while I paced my apartment, ranting, words spilling out. "Do you want to know what I think?" she asked when I finally ran out of sentences. "Always," I said. "I think you are allowed to feel hurt that they do not see the changes you are making," she said. "And you are allowed to keep making those changes anyway, with or without their applause." I sat on the edge of my bed and rubbed my eyes. "You make it sound simple," I said. "It is not simple," she replied. "It is just worth it." There were days when the distance made everything harder, like the afternoon she texted, "Emergency room," and then nothing for 40 minutes. I sat at my desk, heart hammering, staring at the 3 dots that kept appearing and disappearing on our thread. When she finally called, I answered before the first ring finished. "What happened?" I asked, my voice too loud. "I am okay," she said quickly. "Mom had a reaction to one of the meds. They got it under control. I am in the waiting room. They told me to sit down, or they would sedate me too." I let out a breath I did not know I was holding. "I hate that I am not there," I said. The words came out before I could swallow them. "I know," she said softly. but you are, in the only way you can be. You are here every time I look down at my phone. That counts. Not as much as handing you a coffee in that waiting room, I said. No, she agreed. But right now, it is enough. Her belief in me, in us, felt like a rope keeping me from drifting too far out in my own self-doubt. 6 weeks into her being in Denver, I woke up to a different kind of message. Lily, she rang the bell. Quote. I stared at the words, confused for a second. Then I remembered her telling me about the bell at the oncology center. The one patients got to ring when they finished treatment. Ryan, she is done. Quote. Lily, for now, no signs of spread. They are optimistic. I have not stopped crying for 20 minutes. I called her immediately. She answered with a laugh that broke in the middle. Tell me everything, I said. She told me about her mom's shaky hands on the rope, her dad cheering too loud, the nurses clapping, the old man in the corner who winked at her and said, "You are next, kid." I think I finally took a full breath for the first time in months, she said. When are you coming home? I asked before I could stop myself. She went quiet. Soon, she said. I have to help her get settled for a bit. Maybe a couple weeks, but I have been thinking about that a lot. About coming back? I asked. About what coming back means, she said. This is your life there, your job, your friends, your routines. I am the one bouncing between places. I have been scared that when I come back, everything will feel different, that you will feel different. I paused. Can I ask you something? I said. Yeah, she replied. When you picture the word home, I asked, what do you see? There was a long silence. Lately, she said quietly, I see your couch. And that stupid mug you always use. And your plants that I keep telling you are secretly thriving despite you. I smiled, my chest tight. I see you too, I said. Sitting across from me in that coffee shop. Walking through my door like you have always had a key, even when you did not. Laughing in my kitchen. Falling asleep on my shoulder while pretending you are still watching the movie. She made a small sound, halfway between a laugh and a breath. So what are we saying? She asked. We are saying that wherever you are, I want to build home with you, I said. Even if that means Denver for a while. Or here, or both. I do not want you to feel like you have to choose between taking care of your family and having a life with me. We can figure it out. And if it is messy, she asked. It will be, I said, but I am done choosing easy over real. She came back 5 weeks later. I knew the exact time her flight landed because I had checked it every 15 minutes. I stood in the arrivals area, hands shoved in my jacket pockets, heart beating too fast. When she finally appeared, dragging a battered rolling suitcase, hair pulled into a messy bun, wearing my green hoodie that she had accidentally taken to Denver, I forgot about everything else. She saw me before I could call her name. Her face lit up like she had swallowed a piece of the sun. I walked toward her. She let go of the suitcase and met me halfway. We did not say anything at first. We just held each other in the middle of the busy airport while people flowed around us, annoyed and uninterested. I buried my face in her hair and breathed in the scent of her shampoo and airplane and something that felt like relief. You are really here, I said against her temple. I am really here, she said. And I am not leaving any time soon unless it is for a trip you are on too. Quote. We pulled back enough to look at each other. Everything feels smaller, she said, looking around. The airport, the city, my old problems. But you feel bigger. Is that weird? Maybe you just remember now what actually matters, I said. She smiled. Take me home? She asked. To your place or mine? I joked lightly. She bit her lip, eyes soft. 2 hours, she said, if you still want that. I blinked. Hours? I repeated. She nodded. I have been paying rent on a place I have barely seen in 2 months, she said, dragging suitcases between states. I am tired of splitting my life into pieces. When I was in Denver, even on the worst days at the hospital, the thing that kept me going was knowing I had somewhere to come back to. Someone. I want to build the rest of my life from that place. My throat felt tight. I want that too, I said. She took a step closer, slipping her hands into my jacket, her fingers curling into the fabric like she was anchoring herself. "My friends in Denver asked me if you were just a nice distraction," she said. "If you were a phase." A rebound. "Temporary." I told them no. I told them you were the first decision I made that felt like it would still make sense 10 years from now. The noise of the airport faded. I heard only her. "Ryan," she said softly, "everybody keeps talking about you like you are temporary. Maybe once you were. Maybe once I was, too. But what I know now is that when everything fell apart, when things were darkest for me and my family, you stayed." She rose up on her toes and pressed her forehead to mine. "So if you still want in," she whispered, "I want you to stay. For real. For as long as we both keep choosing this." I felt the word inside me this time, not as an accusation or a joke, but as a promise. Stay. I wrapped my arms around her and pulled her close. "I am in," I said. "Not just for the good days, for the airport days, the hospital days, the boring days. All of them." Months passed. We moved her stuff into my apartment slowly, one box at a time, a plant here, a stack of books there. Her mug next to mine, on the kitchen shelf. At some point, my place stopped looking like mine and started looking like ours without either of us marking the exact day. My friends adjusted too. Mason pulled me aside one night at a barbecue, a beer in his hand. "I was wrong," he said. "About what?" I asked. "You," he said. "About who you are. I kept expecting you to bolt. You did not. I kept calling you temporary in my head, and you kept acting permanent anyway. I am sorry, man." I shrugged, but it meant more than I could say. "I was halfway there," I said. "You were just saying out loud what I was scared to admit." He clapped my shoulder. "Well, you made me eat my words," he said. "She is good for you. You are good for her. It is weird seeing you like this, weird in a better way." Later, I matched eyes with Lily across the yard. She was laughing at something Jenna said, head thrown back, hair catching the late afternoon light. When she looked at me, there was no question in her eyes anymore. Just a quiet certainty that this was where we both belonged. One night, about a year after that first bar, we ended up back there. Same neon sign, same too loud music, different us. "Full circle," Lily said, leaning on the high table where we first talked. "Do you remember what you said to me when we left?" I asked. She pretended to think. "I remember being cold," she said, "and thinking your jacket smelled better than it had any right to." I laughed. "You told me you wanted me to stay," I said. "It almost scared me away." She rolled her eyes. "You were already halfway gone," she said. "I just grabbed your sleeve." We stood there for a minute, watching younger versions of ourselves swirl around the room in other people's bodies. Loud laughter. Reckless flirting, dancing like the night would never end. "I get why you were temporary before," she said quietly. "It is easier in places like this to pretend nothing matters." "But it did," I said. "Even when I tried to act like it did not." She turned to face me fully, taking my hand. "Do you ever miss it?" she asked. "What?" I said. "The version of you that did not care," she said. "The one who did not worry about showing up for anyone longer than a few weeks." Quote. I thought about it seriously for a second. "Sometimes," I said honestly, "on the hard days, when it would be easier to shut down, to go back to being the guy everyone expects." But then I remember what that felt like at the end of the night. Walking home alone, having no one who knew the real version of me. She stepped closer, crowd and music melting away. "And now?" she asked. "Now I get to go home with the woman who changed that story," I said. "So number, I do not miss it enough to trade this for it." Her eyes softened. She rose up on her toes and kissed me, slow and certain, like a promise. When we pulled back, she leaned in close to my ear, just like that first night outside under the streetlight. "Whatever they used to say about you," she whispered, "I know who you are now. You are not temporary to me. You are home." I wrapped my arms around her and held her there in the middle of the noise and the lights and the old ghosts of who I used to be. For a long time, other people's voices had convinced me that I was something small and short-lived, a placeholder, a phase, a lesson. But in the end, it was her voice that mattered, the one that looked at every broken piece, every fear, every mistake, and said quietly, over and over, until I believed it, "I want you to stay."